Our next speaker is Dr. Ratinder Paul Singh Ahuja, founder and CEO of ShieldX Networks. He's described as a serial entrepreneur, a technology buff. He's been granted 37 patents for security-based technologies. And what is more, he's a Taekwondo Master with 6th degree black belt. Would you like to have this?
Thank you so much. Just do some quick IT checks and we'll be on our way. All right. Okay, so I got many toys in my hand, so I'll try. I try to juggle these. So thank you everyone for having me here. I'm Ratinder. I'll quickly introduce myself. And the topic is a strange one. It says lessons from 2,500 years ago. And this talk is all about strategy. And many entrepreneurs here, there have been lots of discussions about what is entrepreneurship, why is there only a 2% success rate? Can that be made better? Are you born lucky, or were you at the right place at the right time? So all these mysteries we'll go through. And the reason, so I'll quickly introduce myself. So currently I'm founder of a company called ShieldX Network. This is my 5th startup. I was founder of a company called Reconnex, which was acquired by McAfee. That's why I ended up there. I can take this with me. There you go. And then prior to that, I was founder of a company called Webstacks, acquired by Extreme Networks. And before that, I started another company called Junction, acquired by Cisco Systems. And I have another company that is being run by some other friends at this time. And when I'm not doing work, I'm at my Taekwondo school doing Taekwondo. I have a 6th degree black belt in Taekwondo. So what are we going to talk about? So this is a reference to Sun Tzu's Art of War. And the Art of War, everybody's heard of it? Right? Yeah? It was written 2,500 years ago, so I'm sure you've seen some versions of this. It's one of the most translated books in history. And what it does have is wisdom that has survived the test of time. It has been used extensively in business, in military, in martial arts, in all walks of life. And what is it all about? It gives you a mathematical model, a precise model on how to be successful in many, many areas of life. If you boil down everything, whether you're trying to go into a new market, whether you're trying to sell products, whether you're trying to resolve differences in your family, with your spouse, it's all about managing conflict, right? Even if you make your children want to follow your path, there is an inherent conflict in what they want to do and what you would like them to do. So now what you need is a systematic method to resolve this conflict. So strategy and conflict are very linked, even though conflict has a bad connotation to it, but it's not bad. It's actually simply a way of describing what is going on. We call it scientific and mathematical because as we go through this model, you will see there is a precision to how strategy works. The model will, for example, define leadership. And what is leadership? And of course, you'll have thousands of answers, what's a good leader? But this model describes a precise number of factors and a precise number of properties of a good leader. So that is why it's called a scientific and a systematic and a mathematical model. Now there are a number of translations of this book, and people have evolved it into entire systems. So I follow a gentleman called Gary Gagliardi's method, and he has written about 100 translations of or applications of the art of war to everything from selling enterprise selling, entrepreneurship, stock market trading, martial arts. So many, many applications of this work. And I've studied this over the years. As you can imagine, I got into this because I was studying Taekwondo. I've done Taekwondo 30 plus years. And everybody who studies martial arts will eventually come across the art of war. Now, Sun Tzu is not the father of martial arts. Now, that's a different story. There was a Buddhist monk called Bodhidharma who went from South India all the way up to Tibet to teach Buddhism. And what he found was that the health of people wasn't very good, so they couldn't achieve spiritual attainment. So he said, let me teach you how to get stronger, and that was the beginning of Qigong, which was derived from Indian yoga. So different story. So we're not going to go there today. That's another topic. So like we said, we'll define what strategy is and how, of course, you're going to adopt it, and how do you make yourself successful while adopting strategy. So first of all, strategy is not a plan, right? Many of you are in enterprise, corporate world, and you've gone to strategic planning offsites. So those are oxymorons because strategy is defined as a systematic way to improve your position, right? That's it. It's as simple as that. Plan is all about execution. It's saying, do these 5 steps and put blinders on and just do those 5 steps and nothing else, right? Strategy says, change will happen. How do I deal with change? Is it worthy of me changing my path? So that's all about strategy. So as we go through this, we'll define this better. And by the way, if you have questions along the way, please ask questions. We can keep this interactive. The presentation is short, so we'll have some time to talk about this as well. So just like in any system, there are a set of terms that define that system. If you've been in the corporate world, you've come across these terms all the time, and you'll see some strange terms in there, like heaven and climate and ground. So what does that have to do with strategy? And the reason I threw them in there is because Sun Tzu's original text is written in an extremely flowery language, 2,500 years ago, different concepts. Things were encoded to keep it away from general people. So many of these, in fact, the text begins out by talking about heaven and earth. So what is heaven and earth? And so we'll explore these concepts. But the point is, just like any science, there is a set of vernacular that comes with it. So we have to understand the vernacular. So strategy has, at least in the art of war method, a set of terms. So we need to understand what those are and arrange them to make advantage of it. So here's the model. So the model starts out by identifying sources of opportunity. How does opportunity occur? How do you find opportunity? It's all around you, yet not many people can take advantage of it. So the first thing is to understand, how do you identify the right opportunity? So next is the concept of a competitive unit. So it's a set of really tough guys, but that's just part of it, right? There's an execution team, but that's just part of it, just a small part of it. So we'll define, how does a competitive unit take advantage or find opportunity? And then this idea of a progress cycle, that means, how do they, once you have identified an opportunity, how do you take it to its natural course and take advantage of it? So these are some of the models that we'll talk about. So the first thing we'll understand is sources of opportunity. How does opportunity occur? And that was a question I asked earlier. Are you just born lucky, that you are at the right time, at the right place all the time? Or is there a way to manufacture your luck? And Sun Tzu says, there is a way to manufacture luck. And how does that happen? So it happens with this very archaic concept of heaven and earth. And both heaven and earth are code words for trends and the markets that those trends impact. So trends you don't control necessarily, right? Microcomputing, Dr. Kamani started optical chips and technologies, and that created a trend that has impacted the market in over many years in many ways, right? So modern day scientist who's working on it probably doesn't have to now wonder why that happened. Dr. Kamani did that 20, 30 years ago. It's done. I just have to now look at what the future impact is. So the trend is not, so if it's going to rain, it's going to rain. It's not under your control. So in Sun Tzu's terms, heavens things that you do not control. It will change at its own pace and its own rate. Your job is to understand how does it impact a market. And people will talk about mega trends, right? Social is a mega trend, mobile is a mega trend, e-commerce is a mega trend. And those trends are impacting markets in a massive way. They're completely changing things. So the source of opportunity is an understanding of trends and markets. And we're going to define this further. So now we get into another concept. And this is now about understanding what trend is relevant to what market. And this is where the concept of vision comes along. Now, this term vision is extremely important. In this model, it is defined as understanding how a trend is going to impact a market. Right? That is your vision. You have to be visionary if you can see a trend gaining acceleration, a trend getting stronger. You need to see it early enough, and you need to see its impact on the market. So what that means now is you must have some deep knowledge of the market. And what you're doing now is taking your deep knowledge of a market, seeing a trend that is changing, and saying, hey, I can draw this line. This trend is going to impact this market in profound ways. So this is called vision, right? Vision is not knowledge. Knowledge is understanding the market. Vision is understanding the intersection of the trend and its impact on that market. So remember this. So a lot of people will say, oh, he's a visionary, right? And you need to understand, are they talking about that he's knowledgeable? Or has he actually understood how a trend is going to impact a market? That is the source of opportunity. Okay? Many companies will use mission and vision as, they mix those terms up. And every time I see those mission vision statements, I laugh because people have no idea what a mission is and what a vision is, but we'll define that, right? So we got a good idea of what vision is, and we'll talk about mission as well. So for example, adoption of cloud is dramatically changing how software is delivered, right? No secret here. Salesforce and many, many other companies saw that, and they said this should become a service. So now you have many entrepreneurs that saw this and said, oh, this is going to impact the way sales are done. So I better go do something about it, and hence technologies like Salesforce came along, right? So a number of examples in this way. And now that you have this model, you should go back and do an exercise and say, why was Tableau so successful? Or, why is Oracle having so much turmoil in the last few quarters? Why is F5's earnings going down every quarter, right? So you can now go look at this in this framework and say, there's a trend that has impacted them, right? And the market is shifting away from them, and they are not set up to take advantage of it. So now, so the next challenge for the entrepreneur is, there are infinite opportunities. In every aspect of life, there's lots and lots of changes happening all the time. And now what do you do? So this is where the concept of cost comes in, right? So it takes energy and time and money to pursue this opportunity. So now the entrepreneur must understand what is the cost of doing this. Are they funded appropriately? If you go back to the military texts of Sun Tzu, he would quantify this in saying, what does it take to go on this endeavor? And are we properly funded to do so, right? So that's a simple way to look at the cost of achieving something. A lot of stuff happening in molecular biology, but I'm not a molecular biologist, so there's no way it would be foolish for me to go down this path, and then you become a statistics. And you say, he's the 98% that didn't work out because the cost of getting there was not understood. Okay, so now we're going to put this together into a system. So we've got three things here. So we have the source of opportunity, that is the trends in the marketplace. We will define that competitive unit. And this competitive unit is a collection of things. It is understanding your mission. Mission is the glue that ties that entity together, right? So mission is not vision. Mission is what somebody can say, I'm doing this because, and that's the mission. And it is overriding, everybody understands what the mission is, it's the common goal, and that's why they're doing this. Leadership is another concept, And again, there are a number of properties of a good leader, but what I've come to is, the conclusion is a good leader is a philosopher, he's an organizer, and he's an executioner. So that means 3 in 1 is what is needed. So philosopher has vision, he understands the markets. His organization skill help him put together the competitive unit. And his execution is what moves things forward. So this 3 in 1 combo is important. And then you engage in something called the progress cycle. So this is now very important. So if I put this in a picture, this is what it looks like. So you have trends that are out of your control, right? Your smartness is in recognizing those trends. Your knowledge of the market and intersecting that with those changes is the next key important thing, because that's how you identify, is this trend meaningful to something that's within my reach? And once you can do that, you then create your mission, you put together your processes, your execution methodologies, and you execute, and you position, right? So they say, great, I got a formula. And there are exact specifics on every one of these. You can go down to this text, and you can say, 5 things make a good execution team, and you can go pinpoint those. So you say, well, what can go wrong? I have a formula. Here's what goes wrong. Everything goes wrong. So it goes wrong because your knowledge is incomplete, your vision is flawed, the trend impacted things in a different fashion. The trend never took shape. It never got critical mass. When you acted, your actions were imperfect. The code is bad, buggy software, can't deliver in time, all the problems that we live with day in, day out. And when you did position, nobody wants to buy it, right? So positions are unprofitable. So now you're in a mess because everything that could go wrong did go wrong, and it will go wrong. And now Sun Tzu says there's only one compensation factor, and that's speed. And what that means is when you build your organization, you need to be agile. And you need to iterate this fast without losing all the money that you have. Otherwise, you'd go back to Uncle Ricky and say, hey, can I get some more money? And go to Dr. Butcher and say, hey, I need another $50 million. And hopefully if they understand this, they'll say, yes, okay, I'll trust you some more because you understand what you're doing. So, by the way, that was a plug for my Series B. But so when we talk to Dr. Butchers and Uncle Ricky, we say, hey, guy, I understand what's happening. Believe me, this is why it will work, right? And if there is philosophical alignment, it'll continue to work. So strategy dictates that trends will impact these markets. You must invest in gaining knowledge about this market. Without that, you will fail because you didn't understand the market properly and that impact. And that's where many people fail, because they'll jump into it because they are, they have energy, they have passion, and they'll say, let's just go do it, leave your job and let's go, and then you become a statistic. It's the 98%. Okay. So, and I can go through many examples. Actually, I don't need to go through this because now with this model, you can go back to both successes and failures and say, what happened? And what really happened was they followed these steps. They understood the trend, its impact on the market. They had deep knowledge of the market, right? That's very important. And then they acted. There are lots of visionaries that will pontificate. I'm sure they come to Dr. Kopani and Mr. Reiki and say, I have a great idea. And they talk and they talk and they never act, right? So there is no execution. The competitive unit never forms, right? And you have to position. And now you got to go and try to sell something into the market, see if it actually works, and iterate this over and over. So the work never stops, right? In the entrepreneur's life, you have a vision and a thought, an idea, you go raise money, then you go build it, and then you go back and raise more money and try to sell it. So the cycle continues. There is no final resting place. And that's why this is my 5th startup, because there is no resting place. There is only a path to improving your positions.